Okay, this is week 2 of Inspired Healing from Cell to Soul. I'm so excited y'all are here. And I'm going to go over the schedule with you real quick because I know a lot of people missed that last time. So today we're going to kind of talk about the questionnaire. Yes, ma'am.
Extra schedule?
Yes, I sure do. Let's see. It's not in there. Here it is. I'm sorry.
That's the one thing I did not print.
So
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to be in this room, obviously, today, and I've also got it booked for the next week. We're going to talk about adrenal and thyroid health. So those are really important topics that a lot of women have issues with. The next week will be environmental toxins and detoxification. I'm a big geek, and y'all will realize that, but that's like my favorite thing to talk about. So I don't know why. It's so weird. So I want everyone to bring in, if we were deserted on a desert island, bring in 3 of the beauty products you cannot live without.
3 beauty products?
On that, and I'll remind you. But be thinking about it. What do you use every day, more than once a day? And I know Chris is going to bring her lipstick, and I'm going to test it for lead. But bring in 3 things that you love, that you use every day, that you just don't want to be without. Then the next week, we're going to talk about exercise and sleep, which is going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we can demonstrate some stuff, so we might need to wear a workout. And we're very casual now. We've already decided we're wearing our yoga clothes. And so I've got on my yoga shirt, and I'm going to stay in bed. So please feel free to just wear whatever you want. We're very casual. And interject and ask questions whenever you feel like it. So I'm thinking that whenever we do the exercise from that day on, maybe we could go to Cindy's house, because she has provided her house is just for us. But she did graciously open her house to us, and there'll be a little bit more room for us to demonstrate some. And if you want to demonstrate and you want to participate, you can. If you don't, please don't feel like you have to. This is all for you. It's all about you. You can take the parts you want and leave the parts you don't want.
And we're only a minute from here.
We're only a minute. That's awesome. That's exciting. We'll send out more clarification on that when the time comes. But for this week, next week, and probably the next week, we might be in this room, just because it's a little bit easier to take notes and whatnot. Or we might change our mind, because we're women, right? We can do that.
Right.
Okay, I'm excited about Daniel Walker from Holy Yoga. He's going to come in and talk to us about his yoga plan that he goes by, which is a Christian-based yoga exercise plan. So I'm psyched. I have not had a class yet, but I'm going to go take one before he comes in so I can ask him a lot of questions. And when we talk about hormone balance, a lot of the root cause of that is cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. And it's not the stress that's on you, it's the stress that you perceive. So you are under as much stress as you think you're under. So it's all perceived stress. So we're going to talk about ways that we can break that cycle. And yoga has been shown over years and years and years that it's a great form of exercise and a great way to reduce cortisol. So I'm excited about that. The next week is going to be meal planning with Nikki Murphy. I haven't met Nikki yet. Does anyone? Chrissy knows Nikki. She goes to Church of the Highlands. But I'm excited about that because we want to talk about ways to make your life healthier. So she is going to make some recipes healthy for us, and I want to give you some tools. So I don't want to just give you all this information. Then you're an information overload. You're stressed. You're hungry. Tired. And you're like, screw it. I don't even know what she said. I'm going to go to McDonald's drive-thru and get me a Chick-fil-A. So I want to give you tools that you can use that apply to your life. So she'll be able to answer a lot of questions that I can't answer about food. I love food, and I have a lot of people to cook for at my house, and they think I'm trying to kill them with organic food.
Yeah, why do they think that?
I know, you're trying to kill us with all this organic food. But like I tell everyone else, I still eat. I had gelato for dinner last night, so I'm just going to tell you, I own it. Sometimes I do great, but there's 80% or 90% of the time where I'm going to have the ice cream. I don't feel bad about it. And even my son looked at me, he's like, I was like, oh, I was eating right out of the thing. I had it in my hand. I'm eating right out of it. Like, this experience is happening right now. But, the whole dinner I made was all organic. We had organic brown rice, organic chicken, and some steak, and broccoli, and they know that. So one day it'll click in. I don't force them to eat it, and I just try to be the kind of what I want them to be. I try to emulate the habits I want them to have. You can't force it down anyone's throat. And I always tell my women that I coach, because usually when I see women, they're kind of in a frantic state. by the time they decide to do something about it. Imagine that.
True.
But I just tell them to save themselves first. So I'll tell you that. Save yourself first. You know, try to implement some of this stuff yourself, and then try to get your husband to do it, and then try to get your kids to do it. It's easier that way. Okay. Now, the next week we're going to talk about testing, which is real important. I know Chrissy just got a bunch of tests done, and Bonnie's had her test done recently. So it's really cool to see the numbers and then talk about what they mean. It's no fun to see the numbers and go, what does this mean? The doctor called and said I was okay. I don't feel okay. You know, the receptionist called and said, oh, your blood work looks fine. Well, then why did I go to the doctor? I know I'm not fine. So it's really cool to get a good, you know, some good testing done, but I want you to know what to ask for. And
Let
also,
me ask you
yeah.
this. I just had that same thing happen to me yesterday, and they called and said everything was normal. So can I call back and say I want a copy of
Yes,
it? Okay.
girl,
So,
girl,
yeah.
yeah.
I paid for it. I should get it.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, okay, I can do that. Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. We'll go through some important testing for adrenal and thyroid function next week, which are the main things I want you to know
I got
about.
408-119.
Yeah,
I
so.
have a patient.
Okay. Cameron Strauss is going to be here. She's an herbalist, and she's amazing. So she's going to talk about some other natural ways to incorporate some fun things into your diet. Once we realize kind of where your area is that you want to work on. If you have high estrogen, if you have low testosterone, if you have low progesterone, and that way we can ask her some questions on, hey, how does this apply to me? So that'll be fun too. And then we're planning on going to Simply Infused. Has anyone been there in Mount Laurel? It's an awesome place. It's an olive oil and balsamic vinaigrette tasting room. So my friend Cheryl Harper owns it, and it's a beautiful place, and it's going to be a fun girl time. We can bring food, and she can drizzle all the stuff on it, and if we're going to eat and we're going to party like it's $19.99. It's going to be fun. So, but olive oil and the balsamic vinegar is very healthy for you, and it's a great way to make food taste good, which is a problem that we have. We're like, I'm sick of baked chicken. I'm sick of these greens. Let's add some fun, healthy stuff to it. So that's gonna be good. And we're having a party on the last. I don't know. We're just gonna be partying the whole time, so it's gonna be hard to top that.
And we don't know where the party is yet.
Yeah, we haven't decided. But if anyone feels led to have wine, just let me know.
Or it may be at my house. We'll see.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so everyone's got the handouts from last week, and I just want to go over this real quick. And I'm going to kind of treat this like I do when I do a consult with a client. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. I gave you this Rebalance Your Hormones questionnaire, and all these questionnaires come straight from my training with Dr. Sarah Godfrey. So if you haven't already answered this, so what it's asking you to do is to check off any symptoms that you're currently experiencing or you have experienced in the last 6 months. So that kind of narrows it down, you know, to how have I been feeling lately. The past 6 months is kind of what we're looking at. We're not looking at, oh, when I was 16, I had really heavy menstrual cycle. That's not what we're looking at. So this is taking a picture of you kind of where you are right now. So once you answer the quiz, and if you haven't done it already, you can do it when you get home and you have time to think about it. Don't feel like you have to go through and check it off real quick, okay? Because we're going to be talking about this a lot. So if you've already filled out the quiz, you can tally up how many answers you have in each section.
I did it in the book too.
Okay. Well, you did. Yeah, there are a lot of questions in. This is a condensed version from Dr. Godfrey that I use in my practice. So it's certified. It's a certified version. And the reason why is because obviously that book has a copyright on it, you know, so anyway. So after you get done tallying up your answers, you can look at the quiz, the hormone quiz interpretation. The first section corresponds to cortisol. And we're going to be talking a lot more about this. So if you feel a little vague about it, I'm going to repeat stuff over and over again. So cortisol is your stress hormone, and we found through a lot of research that cortisol is the root cause of a lot of, you know, really it's responsible for most of the sickness in our country. Most of the illness in our country, and I want to say 85%, I had that written down at home. Dr. Mark Hyman, does anyone know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
I know you do. He's my friend. I'm just kidding. I love him. He writes a lot of books on functional medicine, but up to 85% of all the diseases that we suffer from are stress related. So we're doing it to ourselves. I mean, I've been under very stressful situations before, and we all have. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change the fact that, you know, your brother's dying. You can't change the fact that your daughter's sick and in the hospital. You can't change the fact that your son's getting divorced. I mean, but it's your perception of how you're going to deal with it that we want to concentrate on. Because this is all about you. It's not about your son. It's not about your daughter. It's about you and your body. And so I'm going to give you some tools along the way to derail that. And a lot of it's not medication. It's not taking a Prozac. It's not taking a Xanax. But, you know, if that's what your doctor prescribes for you, I'm not saying stop taking it. But this is another way to look at it, a way to kind of help yourself. So high cortisol, if you scored 5 or more in the high cortisol section, then you probably have high cortisol. So what we're going to do is take the top 3 from each section, the ones you scored highest on, and we're going to write them on your worksheet under your condition. So here's your worksheet.
So you said section 1 was the cortisol?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yep, and it's written right there on your hormone quiz interpretation, section 1, high cortisol. So if you scored 5 or more on that, then you probably have high cortisol. So if you want, and you don't have to fill it out now, if you want to wait until you can think about it at home, I'm just giving you the tools. And we're going to be using this a lot, and you can change all this. This is yours to write on, because a lot of this will change week to week when you start changing your perspective on things. So you just go through. Section 2 is low progesterone. So if you scored high in section 2, that's one of your issues. Section 3 is low cortisol. So you can actually have low cortisol if you have unremitting high stress over a long period of time. Chronically high stress, where you're on guard all the time, can burn your adrenals out to the point where then you can't produce enough cortisol. So cortisol is a life or death hormone in your body. It's your body's favorite hormone because it drives all the processes that need to happen. And your body will uptake cortisol before anything else. Before estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, whatever. It's gonna grab onto the cortisol first. And sometimes you need that. If someone breaks into your house, you know, you're up and at 'em, and your body's gonna respond to that. But if you're sitting in a room and you start to have a panic attack, you know, that's an unnatural situation. That's when you need to say, okay, I need to step back, take a look. And yoga, you know, they do spend time talking about that, and I'm not going to beat yoga over the head, but that's just something that I use. They tell you to kind of stand back from your emotions like you're a bystander on a road, and your emotions are the cars going up and down the road. And you acknowledge them going up and down the road, but you don't have to get in the car with every single emotion that you have. That helps me. So one little analogy. But so you can actually score on the low cortisol end of things, and that's kind of a sign to a doctor that you have adrenal insufficiency, and we'll talk about that a lot next time. The next section is low estrogen, and we all know that as we get older, you know, estrogen rises, and then it drops, you know, after pregnancy, perimenopause. If you've had a hysterectomy, if you lose your ovaries, your estrogen's going to gradually drop. And you know, that's a God thing. God made this body, and it's hormone driven. There's nothing I can do about it. Menopause is not a bad thing. It's just a thing. In this country, for some reason, our diet and our lifestyle has made it worse. And other countries, they don't even have a word for menopause. They don't even have a word for hot flash, you know, because they don't have that problem. They eat the foods that keep everything in balance. But our lifestyle has made our estrogen drop suddenly, you know, when we get in our late 40s and 50s, and then we're just, you know, we feel like crap. I think I heard that word earlier. I can relate to that word. So if you scored high in that area, you know, we need to look at your estrogen. Section 5 is thyroid, which is very common. If you're suffering from thyroid issues, that's something that can be fixed. So I think that's great news. You know, if that's a culprit, then we can go get some testing done. We can take some, you know, either T3, T4, and we'll talk about that a lot next time, what the differences are in that. You know, my doctor tested my thyroid and he said I'm fine, but I still can't think straight. I still have brain fog. I don't feel any different. Someone told me I was fine, I don't feel different. Or they might give you the wrong medication. You know, there's no, doctors are not gods. They only do what they have based on the information in front of them, and that's fine. You know, but if you can dig a little bit deeper and say, you know, I think something else might be better for me, there's nothing wrong with that. High estrogen is section 6. High estrogen happens in women who are kind of going through the menopause phase because they call it decreased ovarian reserve. So your ovaries are producing less eggs, and for some reason they push up a lot of estrogen. It can also be due to your lifestyle or progesterone being low. But women in that age group tend to have high estrogen, and there are certain things you can do for that. That was actually my problem when I went through this whole process. I had high estrogen and I had very low progesterone. So estrogen and progesterone have to be in a beautiful relationship to make you feel fabulous. So, and I did not. I felt like I wanted to kill people, and I wanted to go hide in my closet. Like the week before my period, nobody wanted to talk to me, and I had to be someone I wasn't because I felt like this cranky, crabby person, but then I had to be able to heal people at the same time. I'm like, this is just not, what am I going to do? So once I got on this program, I felt about 80% better after the 2 months of taking some adaptogens and adding some stuff into my diet. My diet was pretty good then, but just adding a few things in really helped me. So that's common. High estrogen and low progesterone, you might see those together if someone scored in that. Let's see. Now the very last one, high androgens, that's your testosterone and your DHEA. Testosterone replacement seems to be a big thing these days. Pellets and things like that. And a lot of you might be on hormone replacement therapy. And if it's working out for you, that's great. All of this is going to help it to work better. So giving your body a good environment for the hormones to bind to is the name of the game. So you can push hormones in your body all day long, but if you've got cortisol binding to all your receptor sites, it's not going to work. You're just going to have free-floating testosterone in your body. And that happens all the time. So a lot of people do get the hormone replacement, and if you have questions about that, I'll try to steer you in the right direction. But if you're on it, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine. You know, there are also some natural ways you can improve that as well. Okay, is anyone on information overload yet? Are we good? Do y'all have any questions about the quiz or anything?
Yeah, I need one. I lost my papers.
No problem. I have one.
I lost just the one with the important ones we just went over.
Okay, I'll get you one. So take the quiz. I want you to identify your top 3 issues and write those under your condition, and I can help you anytime you need me to. The next question on the worksheet, the top 3 symptoms or your conflicts to resolve. So being a health and nutrition coach, you know, this is where that comes in. My goal is to empower you to know what's wrong, to identify the problem, and to identify the things that keep you from finding a solution, and then to identify the solution. So that's what this worksheet's all about. Do you need a worksheet? Okay. So I want you to you can think about this now. You can think about it and fill it in later, but I definitely want you to think about what are the top 3 things that I want to change. Is it my exercise habit? Is it my stress? Is it I eat too much junk food? Is it worry? Is it sleep? Is it the relationship with your spouse? The relationship with your kids? I've heard all kind of different things talking to women about this. Everyone's got their own idea of how they want their life to be, and that's God's purpose for you. And you know what it is because women have an inherent wisdom about them, right? So you just have to listen to that. And it's not all about your weight. It's about being healthy. So if a weight issue, if that's your conflict to resolve, put it on there. If you want to lose 5 pounds, put it on there. But if it's, I want to just kind of limit it to 3 because I don't want to get overwhelmed with that. So the top 3. The next one, the 3 goals you would like to achieve in 1 to 3 months. So that's going to be something tangible that we can go for. So I want to be able to eat healthy 90% of the time. I want to spend more time with my spouse. You know, I don't want to worry so much. I want my kids to do their own laundry because that stresses me out. I want my son to walk the dog because I'm sick of the dog. You know, whatever. I've heard so many different things here because you kind of have you go into treating someone, sometimes I'll have an assumption, which I try not to, about what I think they might be thinking, and 90% of the time I'm wrong. Like people just have their own goals that they want to achieve. It's not my goal. It's like, no, I want you to be pain-free and be able to sleep all night. Well, I can deal with the pain. I want my husband to be nicer to me. Like, how do I make, that's a goal. So whatever your goal is, write it down. And then we want to talk about 3 obstacles. So these are the things that are preventing you from reaching your goals. It could be time. It could be meal planning. It could be work, sleep. I don't sleep. After the 3rd night of not sleeping, I can't even think straight. So, you know, whatever your main obstacle is, it might be yourself. You know, some women, me included, I sabotage myself and I talk myself out of doing things when I know it's something that I can do and I want to do and I know how good it's going to make me feel. And I talk myself out of doing it because Dancing with the Stars is coming on and it's, you know, so then I tape it and come back and watch it later. 3 solutions for success. So these are 3 tools that we're gonna, and you can add and subtract from this as time goes on, but a lot of things that I hear here are, you know, how can I prepare food? What can I do to make it easier during the week to think about all these things that I need to eat? Because it's not all about taking food away from you, it's about adding all these foods in that you need to eat. Your body needs whole, nutrient-dense food to be able to function properly. And that's a large reason why you're stressed, you have insulin problems, you have thyroid problems, the whole 9 yards. If you kind of start with that, then all these other things will work itself out. But sometimes it's hard to think that when you're kind of in a fog and you're stressed, you don't know how your week's gonna go, you're planning for cooking for other people, you're going to work, you're going to church, you're doing Bible studies, it's responsibilities. So I wanna come up with ways to make it easier. A lot of times I tell women, and you can use this advice, write down 5 breakfast meals that you love, that are healthy, and we'll talk about all that as time goes on, that you can prepare and get ready for the week. And do the same thing for lunch and dinner. So 5 meals. So and write out a list for the grocery store when you go to the store. Have it on your phone. Every time you go to the store, you're like, okay, I know I need kale. I know I need lettuce. I know I need, you know, so you know when you go to the store, you're not just grabbing stuff for your kids. You're going to get your items as well. So that's one thing that I found that works with a lot of women. And the other thing that works is to talk to your family about your truth. If laundry stresses you out, ask your husband to do his own laundry. You know, that might take one thing off your plate. If your mom is stressing you out, ask your mom, you know, I need you to prepare dinner 2 nights a week. You know, help me. I care for my mom as well. And so sometimes it's hard to ask her to do things like that. But if you can, the more open you can be about it, the more other people will be like, oh, that's not a big deal. I can do that. You know, share it with your family and see if that will kind of ease your load a little bit. Okay, so that's the worksheet. And y'all can just keep that with you and you can add to it and change it as much as you need to as we go along. And now we're going to go over the worksheets I had for today. If I can find them.
You have both, I mean, I've sent you some both high and low cortisol.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I know I'm in adrenal fatigue because I've had the saliva testing and all that, you know.
That is a sign of adrenal fatigue. Because you can have high and low cortisol in the same day.
Okay, yeah.
And we'll talk about that. That's interesting that you said that. I think a lot of women will probably score high in that. You know, and you think about it, you know, God created our bodies. Did He really create us to just be running from one thing to the other constantly all the time, taking care of everybody, taking care of all the meals, taking care of all the decisions at home, sleeping, taking care of our husbands, you know, giving, healing, working at church. There are so many stresses in life now, and our bodies are having to keep up with all that. You know, and you do pretty good over, you know, the period of, 20, 30 years, and then all of a sudden, it's just like they say, it just catches up with you. Well, your adrenal glands, which are right above your kidneys, they produce the cortisol, you know, they start to give out. And there's only so much, you know, they're constantly pumping up cortisol to keep you going because you only got 4 hours of sleep last night. You know, come on, you got to get up, you got a church group to lead, you got to get to work, you got to do reading, you got to pick the kids up, blah, blah, blah. Years and years and years of all that, and they fatigue. And that's where you get adrenal fatigue and adrenal insufficiency. And the whole time you're eating kind of this Western diet of a lot of sugar, processed foods, convenient foods, And foods that you might even be eating vegetables, but a lot of the food grown conventionally is not in soil that has the nutrients in it that we need. So minerals are really important to your thyroid and your adrenals. And that's another thing to consider. And we'll go over like all the foods that you should buy organic and the foods that you should buy conventionally that have less pesticides and all that. But it's real important to think about those things. You know, how much can I push my body and it just finally hits a wall? That's when you kind of have the high and low cortisol. And the cortisol curve, kind of in the morning when you wake up, your cortisol naturally is at its highest. So at 6 a.m., oh, that's not going to work. The cortisol's higher, and as the day goes on, it should go lower. So, you know, around 7, it's here. You know, around 10, it's here, and you should be asleep by that time.
Mine goes so low that I don't have energy to sleep, is what my doctor told me. It drops so severely.
Wow. That's a life or death thing. To have.
Causes my insomnia, yeah.
And that is a sign of low cortisol. So high and low cortisol. And that's a big issue because if you can't get enough sleep, your brain cannot, you know, reboot. Everybody needs to sleep. You know, some people say, and I even remember when my kids were growing up, I don't really need that much sleep. But I do. I need 7 to 8 hours because that's when I feel my best. And you have to sleep at a certain time. And people that work shift work and do different types of shifts at work, their sleep doesn't go with this cortisol cycle. So they end up having, you know, they get sicker quicker and they get run down easier. So the goal is to sleep when your cortisol is at the lowest and to be awake when it's at the highest. Does that make sense? So I want to show you this information, this hormone balance protocol, and this is something else that I share with my clients. And I just try to really reiterate things over and over again and have it written down so you can look at it. But the protocol has 3 steps. Bless you. For each hormone imbalance. The first step is a lifestyle change. So you've got to move your body. You know, exercise is different to everyone, but you cannot sit all day and not do anything and expect to live an abundant, healthy, fruitful, well, no, I won't say fruitful because you can be fruitful anywhere, but the life that makes you feel good. You've got to get up and circulate your blood around and to get your lymphatic system flowing, get your heart rate up a little bit. Just walking, the research has shown, is great exercise cardiovascularly and, you know, for all the muscles in your body. It's good for your bones. It's weight bearing. If you exercise too much, and I've been guilty of that because that was kind of my stress relief when I was a single mom with 3 little kids. I exercised too much because I thought I needed to, that was my stress relief, but I think it was doing more harm and raising my cortisol too much, and I wasn't sleeping as much. So so I had to look at that, and some people do that. They exercise too much. The goal is to get 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. That's super important. And if we have issues with that, y'all can ask more specific questions with that later. So you'll just go through here. Does anyone have a question? Nope. Okay. Step 2, talking about your diet. You're going to avoid processed foods, and you can read through all that. If you have inflammation going on, then they suggest that you avoid nightshades. So nightshades are like potatoes, tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, things like that, and that increases the inflammatory markers in your blood.
Can I ask you a question? I understand what they are, but what does nightshades mean? What is that word?
You know, I don't really think I've ever looked that up.
It's just a botanical term for the kind of.
How they're grown. They have seeds in them, right? Like any kind of herb with a seed, you want to avoid. So it's kind of a seeded.
But potatoes don't have seeds.
It's just kind of like a family of.
Yeah, I've always heard
I don't
nightshades.
know
I'm
why
thinking,
it
does
is.
it only grow at night?
I know.
And I forget how that name came to be, but, you know, it's
Yeah.
just.
Now I'm
they're
going to have
all
to look that
related.
up. And we're going to talk a lot more about these things, but avoiding toxic chemicals from plastic containers and drinking out of plastic water bottles, you know, all that stuff adds to your toxic load. And they, you'll also learn that over time you can be exposed to something when you're young, you know, a young kid, lead or mercury, and it can be in your body and be stored there, even in your bones, for 30 years. You know, and then once you start going through changes in iron, because when you're menstruating, you have lower iron, you know, than after menopause. But when you have bone loss, the lead seeps out of your bone. So just a natural progression of aging, people that have osteoporosis, sometimes they have lead intoxication. So it's important to know all those little signs and to talk to your doctor about that and be tested. But how are you going to know? I mean, who would have known that you can store lead in your body for 30 years? You know, mercury from fish that's been farm raised, or canned tuna, you know, eating out of cans, all that stuff raises that heavy metals in your bloodstream. Our makeup has tons of heavy metals in them. Lipstick, how much lipstick do you eat? Lots of lipstick. So it's things like that I want you to just think about. I don't want you to feel bad about it. I want you to be empowered with the information to make a change. So you can go through these and read all these. We'll talk about step 3, botanicals and supplements. I don't like to load people up with supplements. I like for you to adjust your lifestyle first. So I'm not saying, hey, if you have low estrogen and if you take maca, it's going to make you feel fabulous. You know, I take maca and I love it, but I already have all the sugar out of my diet, the gluten out of my diet. So you have to do those diet changes first for anything else to really work the best. You have to create the best environment in your body, whether it be hormone replacement, whether it be an Advil, whether it be a supplement, anything. And you can read through all these. I won't go through everything. But at the very bottom, I put on here, there's a word missing, but download the Mood Horoscope and Period Tracker app on your phone. If anyone's interested in that, I can help you. But it's called the Hormone Horoscope. And I found that to be very validating for me, because every day it gives you, you know, not really a horoscope, but it says, okay, you're on day 14, you're ovulating. You might have back pain, you might have this, and you might not feel as great today. You know, and there are 2 weeks there that are your Venus week. You know, your estrogen's really high. You need to go for it, take on a project. If you want to rearrange your house, if you want to paint some furniture, girl, do it. You know, but then after, you know, before your period and after, you know, you feel like being in your pajamas, you just want to be at home, you want to read a book, you want to watch Dr. Oz, you know. And I have my daughter doing that, and she's so funny, and she's like, you know, I really feel like being in my sweatpants today and not even doing anything. And then my horoscope came up, and I was like, yeah, that's why I feel that way. But it's just a good way to kind of validate the fact that it's normal, that you're not the same every single day when you wake up, and your hormones are always fluctuating. So if you still have a period and you can put in there when your day 1 is, then it's a good way to kind of keep track of your moods. I thought that was a fun tool to use.
And you have to have a menstrual cycle for that.
Yeah, to be able to put day 1 on there. Yeah. And so that's hard when you start going through perimenopause, and then menopause is like the cessation of everything. So there's no day 1, and that's a whole different story, and we'll talk about that. Okay, and I put in here this tips for treating your specific hormone imbalance, and this is just a different way of looking at your symptoms. So if you, the recommended daily supplements just overall is a multivitamin and mineral supplement for women. So you need those minerals to help with your adrenal and thyroid health. Did you get one of those?
I didn't see what it was.
Tips for treating your specific hormone imbalance. So you can kind of go through this. Omega-3 fish or krill oil supplement is, you know, and this is coming from Dr. Sarah Godfrey, and she created the protocols, and she recommends that for just about every woman that's having trouble, achy joints, you know, all the processes in your body that need lubrication, which is everything. And the omega-3 helps with that, but it also helps with inflammation. With our Western diet, we have a lot of conventionally raised beef and chicken and pork, and all the stuff that we eat has a lot of omega-6 in it. Omega-6 is a very inflammatory fatty acid. So you want your ratio to be more omega-3 and less omega-6. So the real deal is to bring down your omega-6, right? I mean, that's the real deal. But then adding omega-3 in will help you on that journey.
Can you use flax oil? I hate fish animal allergy to it. I hate it. And if I taste it, like if you rip it up, I'm not taking it.
Have you ever tried Nordic Naturals?
No, but
They have.
I'm also allergic to cod, and I mean, like, it's
They
on my food.
they have a lemon flavor. Well, some of the ones do
Mhm.
have a lemon flavor, so it kind of masks that fish oil. And if you put it in the freezer, it keeps you from burping it up.
Okay.
Mm.
I've tried that before with another cod, you know, then I found out I was allergic to cod, but Is flax, I mean, is it not as?
Are you doing flax seeds or flaxseed oil? Flax seeds are great, and they're good for a lot of different things that we'll talk about. The flaxseed oil I need to look at because I'm thinking that might have a higher ratio of omega-6.
Your body has to work harder
to convert it.
the flaxseed and the flaxseed oil into the EPA and DHA that you need. So
Yeah, that's a good question. But I feel you. If I were you, I would be eating a lot of organic, farm, grass-fed beef and chicken. That's what I would do.
Have you tried wild-caught fish?
Yeah.
The cold water fish.
I've even tried a vegetarian one that just has seaweed, like, and I still can't. Like,
I can bring you some of my Nordic naturals and that have the lemon.
That's a good
And
idea.
you can try it.
Because that stuff can get expensive. I mean,
It
I've got a
is-
whole thing full of
I'm not
vitamins.
gonna
I'm like, I'm
lie
not
to you,
taking that.
It's an expensive brand, but it's a real high quality
I'll just have to
brand.
try it once and then I'll know.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and you can try mine, and that
And-
way, if you don't like it, you wouldn't have not have wasted your
There
money.
you go. Thank you, Bonnie.
Sure.
Bonnie's an awesome resource. So, and if anyone has anything like that to throw out, please do. We're learning from each other. But that brings me to a good point, and I shared this with Chrissy. Not everything in your life is going to taste like Oreos and ice cream. Okay, and so we have been tricked with high fructose corn syrup to believe that everything has to be for taste. Like we were talking about bulletproof coffee this morning. I was telling her how I make my coffee, and she's like, that doesn't taste good, but I didn't make it to taste good. I enjoy it. I like the way it tastes.
Awesome.
And I love the way it makes me feel, and I love the fact that it's healthy, and I'm getting the fat that I need, and so remember that.
Can you tell us how to do it?
Yeah,
So
not
what's bulletproof coffee?
the bulletproof coffee is you just take your black. I use organic coffee, and that's another one of my soapboxes. Coffee in this country is not. They don't measure it for pesticides and fungus like they do in other countries. We get other countries' coffees reject coffee, so there's a lot of stuff in that coffee that makes you feel like crap all day. So I get just organic coffee. It's safer that way.
Sprouts.
You know what? I don't know. I get just little K cups from Costco. The can't remember the name of it, but it's the two people on. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll think of it. And I do the
Nature's
organic K
Land,
cups,
Newman's
or I
Farmers.
do a French press. I used to have a coffee pot with coffee in it all the time, but coffee is not an addiction for me. I love coffee, but it can't rule me. Gelato's a different story, but the coffee.
So the bulletproof.
The bulletproof coffee is you do your black coffee and then you put a pat of grass-fed butter or ghee in it, and then I put a shot of MTC oil in it, and I can bring that in and show y'all. But they've shown that this oil, and it's got. Have you used the MTC oil in it? And I
Medium
can't.
chain.
It's medium. Thank you. It actually helps to fuel your brain in a positive way, but it also helps to satisfy your hunger craving because it blocks the hormone leptin that triggers hunger in your brain. So, I'm not trying to starve myself, but I also don't want to be hungry every 2 hours. I know everyone thinks, oh, you got to eat a lot of small meals during the day. Well, if your blood sugar level's stable, then you should be able to go 4 hours without eating. We don't have to eat all the time. And a lot of times I'm not right now. I'm not going to be anywhere to eat anything for the next 4 hours. So I do the bulletproof coffee, and I just do the grass-fed butter or ghee, a shot of MCT oil, and I have a little spinner thing that I stick in it, and it has a battery in it, and it froths it up. You can get it on Amazon. I can send y'all a link to it. I got mine at IKEA because I went there a few weeks ago. But you can get them on Amazon and froth it up, and it tastes really good. And if we want to do that sometime, when we're at Cindy's house, we can try that.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
like
You can doctor it up by adding spices.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Vanilla.
Ooh, pumpkin now.
cinnamon.
That's right.
Different spices, and then if I really am worried about not having any protein, I'll throw in some collagen peptides.
I did that this morning. I put a scoop of collagen in there. And I can show you guys that. I'll bring whatever y'all want to know. And I don't want to be the poster child of this is what I did this morning and this is what you should do, because it doesn't work for everyone. I'm a big fan of collagen. It has all the amino acids in it you need. Amino acids are really important for mental health. And they are doing a lot of studies on amino acid therapy for people who have anxiety and depression and things like that. But it's good for a lot of stuff.
Yes.
So did you just
nails.
Skin, hair, nails.
Did you name it bulletproof bulletproof coffee?
The Bulletproof Coffee Man named it.
Dave Asprey, he's called the Bulletproof Executive. He's like this guy in his 40s. He would like made a fortune in the .com industry, and he spent a fortune biohacking himself, like his sleep, his diet, his mind, and different things. He's the one who came up with it. But you can find different recipes, and he does sell his own coffee that's supposed to be mycotoxin free. I haven't ever tried it. My sisters ordered it, and they said it's too
I have it.
expensive. They couldn't
It's just
really,
like, you know.
they weren't that thrilled with it for the money.
Yeah.
So I've just been like, hey, using the organic coffee, but
Mm-hmm.
it really does taste like a latte. You know, now I do
Yeah.
put a little bit of stevia in mine, but that's
Mhm.
just because I like my coffee.
And stevia is a pretty good sweetener from what everyone can tell, you know.
Of course, they make them out.
I know.
That's,
That's right. Agave does not increase your insulin like other, but it also doesn't signal your brain that you've had anything to eat. So it kind of doesn't help with, you know,
And it's
the
supposed to
hunger.
be higher in fructose
Highly
than high
processed,
fructose
yeah.
corn
What about
syrup.
it was the raw sugar, the sugar and raw, what about that?
Agave?
It came out, especially like in the raw food community, they were real excited about agave because it was supposed to be raw and a vegan, you know, source of, you know, sugar as opposed to honey, you know, because some people don't eat honey because they're vegans.
Yeah.
But then they found out that the fructose is even more damaging than sucrose to our bodies.
Wow.
The way that our liver processes it. So
It is.
you can read about that.
It's very back and forth, you know. You just have to find the balance that's good for you. And remember, we'll talk about this when we talk about toxins, but the way our food is made, it's all genetically modified. And that's where sugar's made from genetically modified ingredients.
Beets.
So that means it has Roundup in it. So a GMO product has with DDT is in your body if you eat that. If you're okay with that, that's your thing. That's one of my things that I just get really like, I just don't want that toxin in my body. It's gonna, if I have a cancer gene, that's the first thing that's gonna turn on. And so those are the things that we'll talk about as we go on. Those are all great questions. And y'all can go through and just take a look at this if you want to look at your symptoms and see what might be helpful. What you need to know about hormones. We'll go over all this. And since we're low on time, don't we stop at 11:30? I want to respect your time. So we'll go over more of this next time. Y'all can read through it and bring it back next time, and we'll go over it, and then we'll do the adrenal stuff.
The time just flew by.
I know. Do y'all have any questions right now? Yes, ma'am.
I know we're gonna talk about detox and all that later, but my friend is, really into this bentonite clay.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any experience with that or have you?
Yeah, actually, I'm taking that right now.
What was
That's bentonite clay. So there are different types of that, and you can do a food grade, and you can just mix it up in water, and you can also you can put it on your skin, and it detoxes the heavy metals in your body. So it attracts the heavy metals in your body and grabs them and pulls them out. If you drink it, then it'll go out of your system, and it's excreted that way. You can do it on your face, you can do it on your legs, your feet, you can put it in your bath. What else do you do with it?
What about on your head?
I would, but you know what? I don't know what it'd do to your hair.
Mm.
But your scalp, it would be great for your scalp, but I'm just not sure what the outcome would be for your hair. Do it on a weekend. Do it on a weekend.
Two things. One is, there's a lot of information, and it's you know, we got the whole semester to kind of
Yeah.
filter it and weed through it and understand it. And that coupled with, most of us here have probably done our own research, which I have, so I have all of that.
Yeah, questions.
My lifestyle that I'm trying to incorporate, so I'm hearing new things. So, my big question is, what about coconut oil? And you might can address that next week. And the second thing is, what would be helpful for us if you wrote down what you take daily and,
Sure.
and why you do that.
Okay.
And so we can decide if we want to filter that into our daily routine.
Sure, I'll
as
be
well.
more, like I said, this is all about y'all. Anything I can do, I'm not perfect, but I'll be more than happy. Right now, I've been doing the bentonite clay because I wanted to try it, and I feel like vacationed a lot. I went onto the beach a week. I went to Las Vegas for a while with my husband. I'm like, and I'm not a big detoxer. I like the natural detox of eating whole foods and juices and things like that. So I'm doing the midnight clean now for that reason. But yes, I'll be more than happy to do that. As far as coconut oil goes, I use coconut oil for everything. I mean, I love the essential oils, and Bonnie does a lot with that too. But I mix my oils in it. I put it on my skin. I put it in my mouth. I do mouth swishing. What am I pulling? Everything. I can't think of anything I
Well, it
wouldn't
says
use.
on here
Cook
to
with it.
substitute certain other oils for coconut oil if you're having a particular symptom, which right now I can't remember what it is.
I think it was vice versa. Was it?
Well,
No.
I think what they're saying is you use coconut instead of other oils, is
Yeah.
I think what she means.
Well, it
in that
said
sentence.
substitute other oils for coconut oil.
Okay,
think
I'm gonna
it's-
look at that.
I
That
think
was
it's-
thank you for
All right, good.
gosh.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
may have read
catching
that
that.
wrong because I do.
I'm
get
gonna
a
look
little
at that again. Which
dyslexic
one?
I think she meant, it's
the
under
first page.
feeling fat
Thank
on that
you.
tips
Thank
for
you, thank you,
hormones,
thank you, thank you.
substitute other oils for coconut.
Oh yeah,
I
thank
think what they
you.
mean is you substitute, it's backwards.
It's
Substitute
backwards.
coconut
That's
oil
backwards.
for
You
coconut
are
oil.
awesome. I'm counting on you.
Coconut oil,
I'm
and then
counting
like,
on
wait
you.
a minute,
Oh,
I'm counting on you because that's important, and no one else has
Okay.
caught that, and so I'm
Okay,
glad
good.
you did.
I'm glad.
I read it, but I read
Thank
it the way it was
you.
supposed to
I
be.
read
I
it in the
know,
Bible,
I've
and I
read
thought
it.
they were saying don't use coconut oil, and then I thought, okay,
I've read it a million
slow down and read this
times.
sentence and.
And also the doses on these supplements, these all came from Dr. Sarah Gottfried, and you can get her book and really look at it further. I'm not a doctor by any means, and you can look on the back of the supplement bottles, but I just kind of went through her protocols and put the dosage on there. So if you want to double check those, please do. Any other questions? I know it's a lot of information, I'm sorry. And thank you. That's awesome. See you next time.